All right, everybody, welcome back to our podcast. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Wow.
It's been a little over a month. You're probably seeing our title, our name in the title there. It's changed. This podcast is now Keep It Kula. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys understand what it means. It's like keep it
It's a
cool.
good play on words.
My last name's Kula, so I hope you guys get that and enjoy the name. So we're going to first of all, before we get into everything, there's a lot of things going on in sports. But before we kind of get into it all, we want to explain the reason why we weren't here for a while was, first of all, we're dealing with tons of stuff, getting ready for school all of August. And we've also decided that this podcast will no longer be with Radio Laurier. Mark and I will be starting a new podcast with Radio Laurier, and that will be pretty much exclusively Laurier sports, NFL, like big stuff here and there, but that'll be all Laurier sports. So we're probably going to get interviews with the football team, basketball team, hockey team, like lots of fun stuff with Laurier sports. So I guess we'll let you guys know when we have our name and when we're filming, because we haven't decided that yet. Things have been crazy. But this podcast will not be with Laurier. This will just, I guess, be our podcast, my podcast. So that's kind of where we're going with this. It's going to be all things sports still, football, boxing, hockey, baseball, basketball, everything. So I guess that's kind of all, the little recap I want to give about our past month. It's been busy. It's been really, really busy figuring out what we want to do with this podcast and what we want to do moving forward. But we think that it's best to kind of keep two things separate and have two podcasts. So that one will be Mark and I, and this one is still going to be Mark and I, but it might just be me most of the time because Mark here is busy 24/7. He has like a million jobs. So no, honestly, people don't realize that when they watch these, that Mark is probably going to work right after. He's been working all day before filming. Exactly. So Mark is busy pretty much 24/7. But we will for sure he will still be coming on whenever he wants to, but we just decided it's best to kind of keep the Laurier thing one thing and then this another thing. So that's kind of where we are with the podcast.
And I'll just kind of further that quickly. Yeah, like everything Jaclyn's saying, it's completely true. And like it's been a long time since we've done this. Obviously, the past month has been really, really busy for us, and just working things out with the Radio Laurier side, and it was mainly Jaclyn's idea. And a lot of the ideas on the 32 episodes that we've done have come from Jaclyn. So credit to her there. But this is her idea, to keep it kind of two things separate. And we think we'll get the best kind of results with it like this, and then we'll have a Laurier focused show, and then still be able to talk about everything on this show that will be mainly Jaclyn's. And I think that's going to be a pretty good structure.
Perfect. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and also you guys will see that we're still on our same YouTube channel. It's just not going to be Hawks Huddle Podcast, but if you go back to our first 31 episodes, it will say Hawks Huddle Podcast, but that's still a part of our show. So now it's just called Keep It Kula. I like that name. I hope people do as well. Thanks. I just thought I've been thinking about names for the past month, and it kind of just came to me. I think it was yesterday. I'm like, oh, Keep It Cool. Like, I like that. It kind of sets the vibe too of what this podcast is. It's very relaxed. It's a good time. We're keeping it cool. We're just doing our thing. Nothing
and conversational, right?
Conversational, exactly.
And like we were saying off air, I mean, it's so hard because everybody has a podcast now too, right? So many names are taken, right?
Literally everybody has a podcast, especially since COVID started. Because I've kind of started a podcast. I think it was 2 years ago. I like filmed something on my microphone and put it somewhere on like Anchor or something, just me talking about the draft. But we only started this. It's almost a year. Isn't that crazy? We have to do some sort of like celebration. And what is it, November something? We have to find that. But yeah, we started in the pandemic, but like I feel like people are stopping it because the world is opening up again. So hopefully, people are looking for content. They come to see us because we are still doing it. And I'm moving back to school soon. You see my chair, my like long chair is at school now. It's not. It's,
wow. I didn't even notice that now that you say that.
I know, it's so weird. I'm not as comfy now, but yeah, like my set's gonna be totally different too. Like I don't even know what to expect. I'm I'm sure I'll be coming home a lot too, so I'll bring my microphone
Are
home
the
and stuff.
jerseys coming with you?
I think I'm gonna bring the jerseys, but I don't know. I don't know like how I want to design it. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be crazy. Like the first week, I'm excited though to move up. I saw Laurier was making a bunch of rules now with vaccines. So before we start this, please get vaccinated. There's this variant going around, very dangerous. People who are vaxxed are still getting it. So I encourage
Yes.
everybody to get vaxxed. Uh, and yeah, that kind of before we kind of get into all the other football stuff, I guess the first thing I want to start off with, I know we were going to start off with the Jake Paul Woodley stuff, but I kind of just mentioned unvaccinated people, and
Right.
Cam Newton was just released by the Patriots, literally what, an hour or two
About an
ago?
hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Just this
filming this.
morning.
It's 12:30 p.m. right now on what's day? It's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Um, and is this a part because he's unvaccinated? So first of all, we know Mac Jones is like
Yeah.
playing pretty good. He looks pretty good, and Cam was probably destined to become the backup. Do you think the one of the reasons he was released is because he's unvaccinated?
I think that might play a little bit of a role into it. First of all, like that was super surprising to see this
Right.
morning.
Yeah.
Like I did not think like you said, if anything, Cam Newton, he was going to be the backup. If you
Hmm.
were going to name Mac Jones the
That's a
starter, you
great
weren't
backup too.
yeah, you weren't going to cut Cam Newton.
No.
Especially because they signed him in free agency to another deal. So because of that, I think that this might have a little bit to do with the fact that he's not vaccinated. I mean, he's had COVID a couple times already. You got to
Mm-hmm.
remember that. I think he missed a couple games
And
last
he
year.
said that he felt it, like he actually felt
Yes.
sick, and I think it affected his playing. So for him to not be vaccinated is or at least that's what I'm hearing, that he's not vaccinated. Listen, he
Right.
may have just gotten it, I don't know, but he missed a lot of training camp, I think, because of protocols, I believe.
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah, because he got it
He
for the second time, and
Yeah.
that allowed Mac Jones to get all the reps. I think when
Hmm.
he played you guys, he played the Giants in the final
Right.
preseason game
Right.
last week. But it's interesting because last time we were on air, and I know this is about a month ago or so,
Hmm.
we were talking about the new policy that the NFL came out with,
Right.
right?
Right.
And this might be the consequences of this new policy, especially
Hmm.
with a coach like Bill Belichick. He's not taking
Hmm.
any crap, for lack of a better word. He's not taking any of that, right? So
100%.
this might be a decision because of all the problems with Newton and
Right.
not being vaccinated, at least to our,
Right.
information, he's not, right?
So, like, and why is it that a lot of players aren't vaxxed? Because I believe Kirk
Yeah,
Cousin isn't vaxxed. I don't think Carson Wentz is vaxxed. I just read somewhere. I think he had to be on the protocol. DeAndre
right.
Hopkins, like, why is it that so many people aren't getting vaxxed? Is it just the lack of like understanding it? Is it just there's not enough research? There's just
Yeah, I know.
it's gonna affect the season.
It will. It definitely will, and that's why the NFL, put that rule out because they don't want it to affect the
Yeah.
season, and they want the players to get vaccinated.
Right. But I think the problem
Um,
is that people who are like the anti-vaxxers, they're so against it, and like no matter what, they won't get it, unfortunately.
yeah,
Um, but I know some players did get it. I think Emmanuel Sanders wasn't gonna get it. I believe it was him. I could be wrong, but I think he wasn't gonna get it. But after the rule was made, he got it because he's like, you know what? Like, I don't know enough about, if I should get it or should I not because of this. Let me go get it. Um, so I thought that was gonna make more people get it, but I still think guys would
right.
rather retire than get the vaccine.
Yeah, it's so hard to to pinpoint, what the reason is. Like, you ask, why aren't people getting, vaccinated? And it's so hard to point to one reason.
Hmm.
But I think like you said there, and I think we were saying it in our last episode, if you're an anti-vaxxer, if you're really against this, no matter what anybody says or no matter what laws come out, it's not going to change your mind, right?
Hmm.
Like you're so against it. Maybe that's a reason. I don't know. I guess it lacks education, right? We talked
Hmm.
about Cole Beasley as well, some of his comments that he made.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I think, and you can see so many coaches in the league. Furthering to my Belichick point, so many
Hmm.
coaches. There's been Mike Zimmer,
Zimmer. Yeah.
Sean McDermott. So many coaches have been pretty upset, very upset at
Yeah.
their team because they're not getting vaccinated.
Yeah. And I was
And that
talking to
might
my,
start costing
yeah,
people jobs. Sorry about that.
right. And then it costs like, so my cousin's planning on going to Minnesota this year to see the Vikings because she's a huge Vikings fan, and we were talking about it, and it's like before you go to a football game, you worry about injuries. Was this guy gonna be hurt? She's worried that Kirk Cousins is gonna with the COVID protocols because he isn't getting vaxxed, I believe. So that's kind of what's on her mind. It's like she's paying all this money to go see the Vikings play. Kirk Cousins, who's their, he's a big player. He's one of, he's a top guy, and he's not gonna play. That affects your whole team, the entire team, and it affects the fans, right? Fans aren't gonna want to go see a backup play.
No, exactly. And he said he'd rather live, what did he say? He would rather live like by a plastic in like a plastic bubble rather than
I didn't see that. I didn't see the Cousins quote.
I would love to pull up the quote. Maybe we'll
gotta
find it
find
later
that.
on
Yeah.
before we end this podcast. But
Yeah.
he said it was something about being surrounded in plexiglass rather than
Right.
getting the vaccine, which is just, it kind of shows you maybe some of the education behind
Exactly. Well, I
not
remember
getting the vaccine.
I
But
think it was last year he said, like, I'd rather like, what
rather
was it?
die, I think he said.
I'd rather die or something than, I don't know. It was some crazy thing he said about COVID. Or no, he's like, I'd rather something about playing during COVID, that he wasn't scared of COVID or something like that. It was
Yes.
crazy. But I don't know. Because Zimmer is he was like yelling at this press conference about getting his players vaxxed, and they're still not getting vaxxed. And it's really going to change the way we see the game of football. It's going to change forever. I don't know about the Jags. Do you know like what your vaccine percentage is?
I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, I think
I'm not
Giants
too
too.
sure, but I think we're pretty good, and I think Giants are good. I know
Yeah.
teams like the Vikings, and I think the Bills as well. They're on the lower end of
Yeah.
the spectrum, but I think the NFL came out and said about like 87 or so are fully vaccinated, but that still
Right.
leaves like
I saw high
13%,
one.
which there's a lot of players in the
Mhm.
NFL, thousands and thousands. So
And
there's
then one
still,
guy gets it, or one guy breaks the protocols, your whole team can't play, right? Isn't it you forfeit that game, I believe.
yeah, if you have a if you have an outbreak or where you can't have a certain number of players, like a Broncos situation like last year, right? You would just forfeit the game.
Which is like, it's gonna change everything. It also changes fantasy football. I'm not in a fantasy league. I don't know if you're in it. If anybody here listening wants to put me in their league, let me know. I don't want it to be too like big and too much money, because I don't want to focus too much on it, because there's so much else to focus on this year. But it kind of affects fantasy football. Like, do I draft DeAndre Hopkins with my 10th pick this year? It's normally, you want to draft Hopkins high, or, your first pick maybe. But now, what if he gets COVID? What if the protocol, you miss your guy?
No, exactly. This will have, I think, a little bit of an impact on fantasy football. It should, because you're exactly right. With these protocols in place now, you got to worry. What if you waste a 10th overall pick on Hopkins, and then he's out for
a weeks, or and then he decides whatever he was saying, he'd rather retire. Then it's like it screws up everything. So just watch out for that, everyone drafting for fantasy. I'm sure the draft actually already happened. It may have already happened, or it's happening this week. Because football comes back next Thursday. I'm so excited.
Next Thursday.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it's back. I'm so excited. But hopefully you guys are smart about your drafts, and make sure, you know what, these fantasy drafts should only be vaccinated players. It should, like, you should only be able to pick vax players, because then it screws up everything. So just be mindful, do your research on if these guys are vax, or if you've been hearing things that they're allegedly not vax. So kind of just be careful with that.
And I mean,
they
they might be okay. Like, DeAndre Hopkins, he might not miss a game this year.
Right.
But the risk of something bad happening is so much higher with the guys who are unvaccinated, obviously. Right.
100%. So
I know we're going to pivot, right? But in terms of Kirk Cousins, he said, I've even thought about, should I just set up literally plexiglass around where I sit, so that this could never happen again. So instead of getting the vaccine, he would rather just sit in meeting rooms with a box of plexiglass around him. Come on.
It's craziness. So I don't know. Hopefully he gets vaxxed. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but hopefully he does. Hopefully Zimmer really gives him a good talk or something.
It's funny. And last year he said, I saw that on there too. I was just looking it up. He said, if I die, I die. So that's what I mean,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
if a guy is super against it like that, you can say whatever. They don't care. Like they will not take it. And I don't get it. I know you don't get it, but like you
I
said,
don't get
hopefully
it.
Zimmer or somebody's able to talk, maybe get through to him. I don't know.
It's crazy. So everybody go get vaxxed. That's our
Yes.
final message with this. But yeah, moving on. I kind of want to go right into the Jake fight. I do want to talk some football more, but the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight just happened Sunday night. I paid for it. Kind of sucks. Could not find a stream.
Nor could I.
A legal stream. No, legally stream. No, don't illegally stream.
Yeah.
That's against the law.
Yeah.
By the fights. No, but it's a Showtime fight. They're very strict with those. They need you to pay. I get it. It's a big company, big fight. So you did not watch the full fight, but you saw the highlights.
Yeah.
You saw the main stuff.
I did. Yeah, and that's what I told Jaclyn that off air. I was like, I did not watch the fight. I mean, I know how big the fight was. I know everyone was watching it. I was looking for a legal stream as well, maybe an illegal stream as well. I couldn't find anything, so I decided not to spend the $60.
Right.
And based off of social media, I feel like I made the right decision, but I kind of feel like I missed out. Like I did want to see Jake Paul and fight Woodley there.
Yeah,
What
like
did you think about the fight?
yeah, so like I paid $60. I would have liked to see a knockout paying
Yeah,
$60, but honestly, I kind of get where people are coming from where, oh, we paid $60 for nothing. I want my money back. It was a great fight. There's no question it was an entertaining fight. I think it really shows us that Jake Paul can be a boxer. I know he's
yeah,
only fought non-boxers, but Tyron Woodley is one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. I know he's kind of old, whatever. He still is one of the greatest fighters, and he has a crazy hard punch. Like he's a killer.
yeah.
He's actually a killer. It's not like Ben Askren, who wasn't known for striking. Tyron Woodley is, I believe. Like he can knock you out with one punch. He's a killer. So it was definitely Jake Paul's first real matchup, and it was really the first time we saw Jake fight, because all of his other fights were knockouts. They were first round knockouts, second round
Right.
knockouts, TKOs, whatever. Like we actually haven't been able to see him fight. And watching the entire fight, you can see that he can fight. He knows how to fight. His stance, his movement, his stamina was like it wasn't the best, but neither was Woodley's. But also Jake has never fought that long, so you don't expect it to be that great.
It was 8 rounds, right?
It went the full 8 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a pretty even fight. I kind of thought Woodley was gonna get the win, but when you watch it back, you see that Jake actually got more punches in,
Right.
like better hits. When you watch it back, because people are saying it's rigged. It's not rigged. Like it's not rigged.
And that's what you'll always hear from the Jake
100%.
Paul and Logan Paul fights, right? It's rigged,
Always.
it's rigged, right?
Always.
And like it's interesting though, because now he's still undefeated, right?
Undefeated. He's like professionally 4-0, but as a whole, I think it's 5-0, even with his amateur fight.
Right. Yeah, because that's what I mean. And like you said, this was no like Askren, that's or some of the other fighters. I know he
Nate
started
Robinson.
off. Yeah, Nate Robinson. That's what I was
Yeah,
looking for.
basketball
Right?
player.
This is not one of them. This is a true MMA
A real
fighter.
killer. A real killer.
Like you were saying. So that's super impressive that yes, he didn't knock him out, but was anybody really expecting Jake Paul to knock him out? Maybe. And at least he lasted the 8 rounds and got the win, right? Like I think that proves him as a fighter, as a boxer.
Something. I understand that people are saying that he needs to fight a boxer, but what people don't know this. I'm sure Mayweather wasn't fighting the top names. He was fighting nobodies to build up his record. So Jake is doing the same thing. They're just not boxers, but they're huge fighters. So what Jake has already done is so impressive, and people are not giving him the proper credit. We're seeing like something amazing happening in front of our eyes, and everybody's just bashing it when he's actually fighting real fighters. He just started fighting. His first amateur fight was 3 years ago, right? He's only 24 years old. So
I think that's what a lot of people forget. Like you got to remember, he's so like both him and Logan.
He was on Disney Channel. He was on Disney Channel 4 years ago. He's been daily vlogging for years. Like that was his life, and he just started boxing, and he's already doing this. And I believe every fighter in the undercard, even in the main card, it was their biggest payday of their career.
Right.
Jake Paul was able to make that happen. So he's making a difference. Tyron Woodley had the biggest payday because Dana White doesn't pay enough,
Yeah.
his fighters enough. And that's Jake Paul's mission, to make sure these guys get paid. So hate on him all you want. He's changing their lives. He's changing every fighter's lives who fought in that event.
Yeah, and then for sure I agree with that. And to what you just said, I think that is what so many people forget, like how new they are to the scene. They're so
Mhm.
new to the scene. They're just starting, both him and his brother too,
Yeah.
Logan. Like they're just starting up, and he's undefeated. Like he's 5-0. I
Mhm.
understand we've talked about who he's fought, but like you said, I'm sure Floyd and the best boxers and the best MMA fighters don't start against McGregor. They don't start against, the
No.
best. They didn't start
They
against.
fight nobodies. They fight guys who have no business being a fighter. Like,
Right.
they
And you
fight
build up your
nobodies.
career.
Exactly. You have to build up that record. So Jake is still learning how to fight. He's so young.
Yeah.
He's so new to the sport, right? He didn't grow up a boxer like most of these guys. He grew up playing sports and all, but he was a Vine star in 2013. He was on Disney Channel. He was on a show with Olivia Rodrigo, like
Oh, wow.
the biggest musician in the world right now, the next Taylor Swift or the new
Yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo. They were on a Disney Channel show
Isn't she like
together.
18 or
She's
something?
18, yeah,
Yeah.
very
Wow.
young, but they were on a Disney Channel show together. Um,
That's crazy.
so like you
I
have
did not
people,
know that.
right? Like that's what he was doing. He was a daily vlogger. He was making cringy YouTube videos that I loved. I loved how cringy they were. They were entertaining, but that was his life. And then he got into boxing because him and his brother were called out 3 years ago. And then they've built something so amazing that we've talked about this many times, but like this generation, my generation, I'm so into boxing now. I'm so
Yeah.
interested. I'm invested, and I'm paying the money, and I'm interested in boxing and all that stuff. I don't want to get hit. I don't want to become a boxer because it's crazy dangerous. But if you got it in you, you got it in you, and he has it in him. Like, he's very talented, and
Yeah.
he has a career, and I'm excited to see what's next. And even if he loses, if he loses, the amount of hate he's going to get on social media, but he shouldn't, because he's so new. Like, he should not have won against Woodley,
Right. Right.
right?
But that's the thing, right? Like, as much, and we've talked about it. We've talked about it a couple of times on this show, but like you can hate as much as you want on both of them. And I know that's what you're saying too. You can hate as much as you want on both of them, but everybody is so interested in what's next for them.
Mhm.
Everybody was watching that fight on Sunday night. Countless people paid for it. It was probably the top 5 trends on Twitter and everything else. So you can hate as much as you want, but look at how much attention it's drawing, right? And then to the fact that yes, he probably shouldn't have won the fight, but hey, he was able to last 8 rounds with
Right.
Woodley, and
He got the
one of
win.
the did get the win,
Yeah.
right? So even if he didn't get the win, like lasting 8 rounds with Woodley, he should still get credit,
Right. But
just
he
like he
won't.
shouldn't get
He
hate,
won't. No
but he
matter
won't.
like who he fights, he will not. And also, at the end of the fight, but before the fight, Jake wanted to bet with Tyron Woodley that the loser has to donate a bunch of money to a charity, and Woodley would not take it. So Jake
Oh,
said, okay, loser has to get the other person's name tattooed on them. And they agreed. They shook
oh, did
hands.
they?
And so after this fight in the press conference, Woodley said, Jake, I want a rematch. I want a rematch. So Jake said, get I love Jake Paul tattooed on you, and we have a deal. They shook hands. So I believe Woodley will be getting I love Jake Paul
Really?
tattoo.
Wow.
I think on his
Wow.
thigh, he said, which
I did
I
not know about
love.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It was right after the fight. They shook hands on camera. We all saw it. He said, I will get I love Jake Paul tattooed on him.
That is hilarious. Wow. Wow. So look at
Yeah.
what Jake Paul is doing. I did not know that, but
Yeah.
hey, I guess we'll look out for that tattoo. That's
So
crazy.
rematch will be coming, maybe very soon, as long as Woodley gets that
Yeah.
tattoo. We might be seeing a rematch, which would be putting up great numbers.
You think
Um,
that Paul would have got that tattooed on
yeah,
him
he
if he
would have.
lost?
He
Yeah.
has tons of crazy tattoos. He would have got it small on his thigh or something, like nobody will ever see it.
Right.
He definitely would have got it, because it brings in more eyes, more views. It's content,
Exactly.
right? Like, Jake is such a genius with that and making content, becoming the problem child is his nickname.
Yeah.
Like, he's so smart with it, and I'm entertained. I think a lot of us are entertained. Joe Rogan is even talking about it.
Yeah.
Dana White hates Jake Paul, but it's like, we're getting a lot of content in it, and I'm excited to see these interviews that Jake does now. Like I love the content, because Woodley, his interviews were boring. I was not invested in Woodley at all. His YouTube videos are boring too. Jake Paul knows how to make it entertaining. He knows how to make content. Like him and Logan are born creators. Like no, and entertainers.
Exactly.
Like I think Logan with the boxing, I don't think he's gonna continue it like Jake. I think Logan season more. He's more of an entertainer. Jake is too, but Jake does it with the boxing because he's the villain. Logan's not the villain. Like people never like. I
Right.
know he had controversies, but Logan's not the villain. He's like the good kid, and I think he just wants to keep on entertaining. He still does his podcast. He still does his YouTube stuff. I think Logan. I don't see a career with him in boxing, but Jake, I definitely do.
For Jake. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm just excited to see what's next for them. And I will try my hardest to watch the next match. Because I know Jake Paul was, from what I saw, he was proving himself as an actual boxer on Sunday night.
100%. But
against a true opponent.
Right. 100%. Like it was very, we really saw a new side of Jake, and we really can see that he is very talented. So I'm excited to see what's next. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I think our next episode, I might be up at school, might be in a new set. It's gonna be weird, but football season starting next Thursday night, not this Thursday night. It's the 9th, I think, on the 9th.
Yeah, we're about 9-10 days away from the 9th. That's when we start school as well. So but
forgot about that. I forgot that we have school still to worry about.
Yeah. But football starts that day.
Football starts. That's the important thing. Exactly. But yeah, so thanks everyone for coming back and listening to us. I know we've been gone for a while, but we want to make sure that we came back and we're not giving up, even though it's really hard to find time to film nowadays. But we love talking about this stuff. But yeah, so I guess we'll let you guys know when our Laurier show starts, what we're gonna do with it, what the name's gonna be. So we will definitely be promoting that here, and we want you guys to listen to that, of course, because Laurier Sports is about to get cool again. It's gonna become cooler than it ever was. I'm gonna get everyone to go see games. We're gonna make it big. So I hope everybody listening, goes out to games and starts showing some support. Let's make it like college football, right? You go to the States, it's bigger than the NFL in college. So let's make university football fun. Okay.
Exactly.
People got to go. It's a great game. They're so fun. So
for more than just homecoming, it's not all about
exactly
drinking. There's some good football being played too. It's not
There's some good football. Drinking. Exactly. Go have a good time. Go, or even if you don't love football, go have fun, go take nice photos with your friends and have a fun day and watch a game, whatever, do what you want. Exactly. So once again, thank you guys for watching, coming back to us. Football season starting, content's about to get great. Seriously, we've kind of been pushing a lot of content this past summer, but we found stuff to talk about. But football season starting, things are going to get crazy. I'm excited, you're excited, we're all excited. We can't wait. That it makes September so much more fun with football, and hopefully everything goes well. Once again, everybody go get vaccinated, please. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.